Alright. Feels like it's been a while since I've done this. Kinda has. Anyway, here is the voice actor practice for today, I guess. This one's called Houdini. On the eve of a 1917 performance at New York City's Hippodrome, Harry Houdini was cinched into a straitjacket and hoisted upside down from his ankles by a subway derrick. 30 feet above 46th Street and Broadway, he convulsed, wriggled, and swayed. Seconds later, he maneuvered free, escaping the brutal bonds to a roar of applause from the throng of onlookers. Typically, from his high perch, Houdini would brandish that straitjacket in the air as a sign of his conquest and his freedom. For the hundreds of often thousands of spectators who craned their necks to witness Houdini's outdoor performance, the trick may have seemed more important as a symbol than a stunt. Alright. Hello. Nice to be here again. Power outages. I was gone for like almost 24 hours. But hey, that's life. This one is called How to Exercise. Never Hit a Jellyfish with a Spade. It's a weird name. They say the devil makes work for idle hands. He also makes work for other parts of the body, and this he calls exercise. By exercise, we mean any kind of movement you would normally make in everyday life. However, everyday movements can be converted into exercise by adding the power, hence power walking, power lifting, and power dressing. These are two types of exercise, aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic exercise is what you do in Lyrica. Anything else is anaerobic. Exercise is good for you in all sorts of ways. The fitter you are, the more you can do things like climb stairs and run for a bus. In other words, other forms of exercise. After a really strenuous workout, you get a great feeling of well-being. This is due to the resistance of endorphins into the bloodstream, which are the body's natural smugness generators. The best part of exercising is sweating. This cleans all the pores and allows you to use sports body wash instead of just soap. Sweating also makes you look like a great steaming mess, and explains why exercise itself is very uncool. It only becomes cool once you've cooled off, showered down, and emerged with slightly wet hair. It's very easy to get addicted to exercise. You can become so fit that you put yourself to ever greater extremes, one of which is death. People who are always out exercising generally carry a subliminal message on their sweatshirts: rubbish relationship. Nowadays, there are all sorts of machines that simulate exercise for you. For example, there are running machines, ski machines, and rowing machines. Ideally, they would have a remote control so you could operate them while you sat on the sofa watching TV. Normally, exercise machines tend to end up in the spare room because that's where you put stuff you don't use. Exercise is a great way to lose weight, principally because it's hard to eat a tub of ice cream while you're doing aqua aerobics. Yoga devotees say it's the toughest form of exercise and that you can lift the equivalent of half a ton just by clenching your buttock muscles. People who get really good at yoga can put their leg behind their head. However, it generally takes another year of practice before you can get it back. One of the great benefits of regular exercise is that you develop a superb body. Ideally, this becomes a smoothly oiled love machine, except for the fact that no one wants to sleep with anyone who breaks off to take on bore-high energy liquids during lovemaking, and has to do 15 minutes of stretching before starting. I have no idea what I read, so I pick them off just based off title alone. This was a weird one. But exercise can be good. This is just, I guess, a silly take on it. Exercise can be very good for you. Alright. This one is called Invictus. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Indeed. That is something I kind of ran into last night. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I keep running into the same issues over and over again. I keep up running into the same answers over and over again. Never hit a jellyfish with a spade. That's what it was called. But I was struck by an epiphany again, I guess, last night. But it's one I've had many times before, and I keep having to remind myself of it. Life is what I make it out to be. And being afraid and of taking chances, taking risks, doing the unexpected, isn't doing me any good, especially not in my life here. Sorry. But yeah, it's I'm afraid. I keep running into the same exact problem and the same exact pitfalls of being afraid to do something because I'm not good enough. The you know what? I'll do that. Just give me a sec here. Let me pull it up for you guys. If I still can. A sec. Here, there. I have to find it first. I put it somewhere else. It was a video I found of way the hell back. It was a bit of a... There it is. Let's see if I can pull it up. This is going to be incredibly stupid to anyone who doesn't... There. Alright. It's called The Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny. It was a really stupid Flash video that I watched when I was a kid. Wow, that's actually kind of loud. Hopping around, doing things. And the thing is, this was like shown into a thread I found the other day. And what I noticed was, I remember decades later, and I remember like the lyrics really well. Not perfect, I'm not that good. But the thing that I remember is, it's decades old. The guy who made this was not expecting it to be as famous and well known as it was when he did it. And it's stupid. It's made crudely, it's made poorly, it's that explosion doesn't even move. It's just a scaled image. And it made me realize yet again, it doesn't matter how well you do something. It just matters that you do something. This guy felt like doing a thing because he wanted to do a thing. It was pretty cool, so he went and did it. And it became a internet staple in history. It's pretty cool, but which he just couldn't find because Batman stole it and he shot and he missed and he deflected it with his fist. Yeah, and did a somersault. But it reminded me that it really does not matter in the slightest how good I am. The only thing that matters is getting up and doing whatever the hell it is. And one of the other thoughts I came into is, one of the fears is, like, what if I'm not good enough? What if the thing I did is the wrong choice? What if such and such isn't actually going to help me? Well, I'll be worse off than whatever and all that stuff. And it's a bit of a mixing of things I've run into. That man changed back into Bruce Wayne. In between his thighs. And Gandalf the White, and Gandalf the White, and Mountain and the Holy Grail Black Knight. And the Blue Meanie. John Kirk and John D. the Genie. Got the Terminator, Batman, Power Ranger. But the thing is, if it's worth your attention, it's worth doing. And certainly won't happen, yeah. And for me, it's something I'm going to try and work towards is giving my attention to things that I want to give my attention to. Instead of trying to sit here and focus and do things that other people may want me to do that I don't care about, I'm going to try and just do what I want to do. And this, for now, is namely voice acting, Umineko, and doing the streaming stuff. And so that's what I want to try and work towards. And that was the Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny. That was made like probably more than 20 years ago. But I still remember it to this day. I've watched that only a handful of times, but every time I remember it. I liked it. And it's because some dude in his room decided to animate that song, animate that video. It wasn't all that good. It was very simplistic. It had many flaws, but nobody cared. Nobody cared how bad it was. It was an awesome idea, and they went through with it. And that's all that he needed to do. Anywho, let's get going with the Umineko here. And yes, sorry about being without power yesterday. That kind of put a damper on a lot of what I wanted to do. Oh yeah, one other thing I wanted to make note of. Zekuto, you made the comment, I think, on Discord or something that not doing the thing that's scheduled really freaks you out. That used to be how I did things, but I ran into the issue of every schedule I put in place never got done because of outside happenstance. Like, okay, like yesterday, perfect example. I was gonna get up, do a stream, do my laundry, do some of this other stuff. Power goes out. Can't do the stream, can't do the laundry, can't do the other stuff. Just flat out. Well, shit. And so I've started to try and embrace chaos a bit more, because if your entire life is scheduled from now until the day you die, that's not very exciting. that doesn't allow room for change, new happenstance. You know everything that's going to happen. So, let's go and see where we go. Do a bit of random, do a bit of chaos. It'll be okay. What's the worst that can happen? Just, we play Umineko instead of Phoenix Wright. Big deal. We'll go and do some other stuff. Oh yeah. One last thing before we start. I'd like to do the Danganronpa series. They came out with a third one, and I came out on the really stupid sale. Your New Year's resolution has already failed video? No, I have not. Give me a second. I don't think I made much of a resolution other than to be happy. Yeah, I used to do resolutions somewhat, but after a while that's not really me. I'm just gonna go and do what I need to do and then work towards that. That's what I believe, anyway. Alright. I'll check it out when I get a chance. But yeah. So, at some point I'd like to try and get a Danganronpa series as well, tossed into the mix of whatever the hell our schedule is. Oh. And I'm also, one more thing, working at trying to get a new UI going up. Currently, my internet is really limiting me, I'm finding out. I have a really cool design set up, but it works for like 720 or 1080, not 480. That makes a bit of a difference. If we can get something else going, if I get better internet, I can get a better picture that I can fit more things in that'll still be legible. Yeah, I'm trying some new stuff. I think it'll be pretty cool. So without any more ado, let's get this party started. Or this sad party started. Because Kinzo is dead. Natsuhi kind of went a bit wonky and started talking to his dead spirit and Beatrice. Kraus has them in dire straits by giving away the deed in trust to let people fund his things that don't work. And moon tourism, that was the other thing he was doing in 1986. It's 2020 and we still don't do that, so he's a bit out there. Once again, all of those who had witnessed Kinzo's corpse were gathered in the study. Yep. Kraus was still impatient and clutching at his head. Genji was as expressionless as ever. Nanjo and Kumasawa wore bewildered expressions on their faces. But in stark contrast to all of them, Natsuhi wore a resolute expression. Dear, let me ask you one more time. Your plan for raising money is absolutely certain? Yes. Give it a year. No, just half a year, and it will certainly bear fruit. But it's just impossible to hope for anything right now. Then we will wait. But you said it yourself. Father is already dead. Father has not passed away. He's still there, as healthy as ever. When Natsuhi said this, everyone jumped and looked up. because they instantly understood what those words meant. However, Kraus alone didn't get it right away and asked her, "What do you mean by that? Father is already, in reality, I will say it again. Father is still in good health. He is busy with his research, so he'll be even less able to leave his study than usual. Because of this, we must handle all external affairs ourselves, so that Father can devote himself to his research without being burdened by meaningless tasks. In short, nothing will change from the way things have been. Do you understand, Genji?" "Yes. The furniture of the one-winged eagle will continue to serve the master." "Kumasawa, and you, Dr. Nanjo, do you understand what I'm saying?" Is that truly alright, Natsuhi-san? It may be true that Father passed away today, but if everyone right here, right now, believes, we can revive Father with magic. It's impossible, Madame. That's just too much. The time of death will be made clear during the autopsy. We can't stop it from looking suspicious. Father will not pass away, so there will be no reason for there to be an autopsy. Of course, she wasn't planning to make it seem like Kinzo would live forever. The fake life given to Kinzo would only last until Kraus could repay his debts. After that, Kinzo's soul would finally be able to rest in peace. Nanjo reportedly said that the time of death would be discovered during the autopsy, but Natsuhi kept saying that this wouldn't be a problem. Father will not pass away by being reported dead. I see. He'll be reported missing. After clapping his hands together, Kraus stood up, shaking his fists. Yes. Once we've managed to pay back the debt and finish our preparations for laying Father to rest, we will then announce that Father has disappeared. Rokonjima's vast, uncultured forest was the perfect place to stage a disappearance. One day, Kinzo would go out to the forest for a walk, and never return. They would search for him without success, and then be forced to report his disappearance. If he disappears, we can file a report of his death, even without a corpse. In other words, we can hide him long enough to have him declared legally dead. What do you think, Dr. Nanjo? There won't be any problems that way. Yes, that might work. Spooky voice time. Is this really okay, Madame? If we stay silent, then I'm sure we could keep the Master's death a secret. However, if we were to slip up even once and let someone find out... Kumasawa, don't be so loud. Father is sleeping right over there, correct? Are you trying to wake him? It isn't a corpse. Kinzo is sleeping. As Natsuhi said that, Kinzo lay quietly on the bed as though there was nothing at all odd about her words. Come, try to remember. What form did you have? What sort of life did you enjoy? Once again, a storm of gold butterflies started to swirl, covering Kinzo's body. Then, after the butterflies exploded into fine gold powder and disappeared, just like those fairy tales that have been told over and over since long ago, Kinzo slowly opened his eyes and sat up. Father! Natsuhi, let me first make one thing clear. I did not coax you into doing this because of my attachment to life. You liar. Don't tell me you didn't anticipate this at least a little. How does it feel, Kinzo? How is your body? It isn't bad, but it feels somewhat like being in a dream. I feel light. You're a being that wasn't permitted to remain in this world, yet you still remain here. Don't start complaining about a little discomfort now. Is your body truly alright? Is it really okay? Actually, it feels quite pleasant. If this is what the world after death feels like, playing the ghost might not be half bad. How is this, Natsuhi? Kinzo has revived. That means a funeral is unnecessary. Your hardship has been resolved. Beatrice. As Natsuhi tried to find words of gratitude amidst her confusion, Beatrice waggled her pointer finger and spoke. There is no need for thanks. A ruler is allowed to be proud. I will not pay heed to requests, but I will follow orders. Even so, I'll say it. Thank you. This way, you've brought some time for my husband. We will handle the rest. Be warned, Natsuhi. Kinzo may have revived, but that is not an eternal thing. It will only continue as long as my magic does. Be warned that the magic-resistant toxin might destroy the magic. You must understand the laws of magic correctly and work hard to maintain it. I can show you a miracle, but it is your role to grasp it and hold it. Of course. We definitely won't neglect the miracle you have given us. Very well. Yes, it would appear masters need to be changed out every once in a while, just like floor mats. I like it. I shall serve you, Ushirimiya Natsuhi. I am the Ushirimiya family alchemist, the Golden Witch Beatrice. Call my name whenever you wish. I shall appear and grant you a miracle. Thank you. I am Ushirimiya Natsuhi. I will employ you and protect the honor of the Ushirimiya family. Umineko no Nakukoto ni Chiru, Nocturne of the Truth and Illusions. Nocturne of Truth and Illusions. Truth and Illusions, huh? Maybe? I don't know. I haven't paid much attention to people's hair pieces. I'm a guy. The rose garden was truly splendid this year. The roses were blooming like crazy, as if competing with each other. In that rose garden, Kinzo, Kennen, and Natsuhi could be seen. Once again, the flowers have grown wonderfully this year. It must be the result of your care. Thank you very much. The weather just happened to be good this year. She's just got in a fancy ponytail? Thanks to your care, the garden is even more beautiful than usual. Good work. Thank you very much. If today weren't so special, we might have been able to admire the roses while enjoying some black tea. Kinzo shrugged. Today was the family conference. When it came to the other siblings' businesses, none of the news had been good. On the contrary, those siblings probably planned to turn the conversation to the topic of Kinzo's remaining life. I did notice that too. And hold a quiet feud over the inheritance. Those people are quite unpleasant. By the way, what about Kraus? Is that debt repayment plan of his proceeding well? It does seem to be a realistic plan. However, it's a plan on quite a large scale, and it doesn't seem to be bearing fruit quite as well as he expected. If possible, I would have hoped to have that resolved before today's family conference. Yes. My apologies. Are you sure you're okay, Kinzo? Casually walking around in a place like that? How had she gotten up there? Well, it's fairly pointless to wonder about that sort of thing when you're dealing with a witch. Beatrice was casually sitting on the roof of the arbor, almost as though she had been basking in the sun. Those relatives are like a massive lump of the magic-resisting toxin, and they'll be intruding in on us. If you bump into them, your soul will evaporate in an instant. I am already dead. Evaporating would be no detriment. We can't have that happen. Please, for the sake of the Ushimiya family, lend us your strength just a little longer. Natsuhi. It seems the boat carrying the relatives has left the harbor. Perhaps it's about time to bring an end to this walk of yours. Is that so? But you never know. It could be the clue. She might be hiding a gun in there. That's my claim. Is that so? Thank you. Please, return to the study, Father. My. How tiresome. To go back inside when the weather is this perfect. Don't grumble, Kinzo. Right now, you're nothing more than a ghost I gave life to. It'll be troublesome for both me and Natsuhi if you're scattered away by the toxin. Just be a good boy, shut yourself away in the study, and wrap a blanket around yourself or something. Merely receiving the chance to enjoy these roses after death makes me an extremely fortunate man. I understand. I shall return to the study. But I would like some black tea. Canon, tell Genji to bring me some. Perhaps some Marco Polo would do well today. Certainly. Then let us go our separate ways. Natsuhi, you must conduct the family conference splendidly in my absence. Of course, Father. He can't say it in front of them, but my husband is already the Ushimiya family head, and I will do all I can to ensure that I don't embarrass him as his wife. Compared to Kraus, who had a stomachache since this morning, you are so very composed, Natsuhi. My son is quite hopeless. My husband is talented in his own way. Supporting him where he's weak is my duty as his wife. Indeed. Carry out your task with precision. I will make sure to stay shut away, so that I don't get in the way of this farce. Canon, go with Father to the study, and then have Genji prepare some black tea. I'm not so senile that I need your help to stand up. Here I go. Refusing Canon's attempt to lend him a hand, Kinzo rose from the flower bed he had been sitting on. The retired head left everything in Natsuhi's hands, and returned to the study at a gentle pace. You're looking well. You possess a sense of dignity reminiscent of Kinzo's deceased wife. On the off chance that the magic-resisting toxin does reach father, will the magic dissolve in an instant? Indeed. In the blink of an eye. I can vanish whenever I please, but if someone already dead, such as Kinzo, loses his form, he'll be instantly tossed away like dust by the wind into the sun. You must take care. Yes. I understand. You may have talent as a witch. The magic-resistant toxin has been building up in your system over the years, and yet you are still able to understand magic. If you and I had met during your youth, you might have become a powerful witch by now. I am the wife of Ushimiya Kraus, the family head. I would become even a witch or a demon to protect his honor. I am deeply grateful for the power of your magic. I wouldn't have been able to protect the honor of the Ushimiya family without you. Let's discuss that at another time. I'd like to enjoy it with just the two of us women drinking tea. A friend of mine who went to Sri Lanka lent me some black tea with a wonderful rose fragrance. Oh, you mean Dambula? That isn't bad. Then you should also have some patis on the side. You must serve me some as a reward if I manage to trick everyone for this entire family conference. It's a promise. Promise. Red flag. Red flag. In stories, promises are a big old red flag of impending doom. Understood. I promise. We do need a bing bong counter. I promise. Then, I'll see you later. Yes. Later. The witch made her body crumble into the rustling winds, became gold flower petals and scattered into thin air. Natsuhi watched her go, then turned on her heels and headed for the mansion. And then, there were none left in the rose garden. Okay then. It's break time. Got any complaints so far? None at all. If you have to pee, why not just go and do it? What a rude thing to say. Kinzo is already dead, right? But he's walking around and talking, isn't he? Doesn't that mean this is magic? Of course, I doubt this move would work on you after all this time, Burn. But what about you, Battler? Isn't this weird? Don't you have to accept the existence of the magic that revived Kinzo? If you're trying to imitate Beato, it's pissing me off, so stop it right now. Figured it out. Then come on, how are you gonna answer, Battler? Kinzo was just out for a stroll. Why not act like you always do and start holding your head, crying, "This makes no sense!" Come on, use that it's all a useless catchphrase. And then give me one of your classic nonsensical counter-arguments. There's no way a human who's supposed to be dead could be walking around, right? This is all because of some unknown virus called the Rokkenjima syndrome that causes mass delusions? Or do the scales of the mysterious form of butterfly that only lives on Rokkenjima happen to be hallucinogenic? Or is it all because of a mysterious secret organization called the Mountain Dogs made an as of yet undiscovered drug called Puyo, which causes mass delusions? Let me hear tons of this wonderful crap. Just shut up. This isn't even a problem. Grandfather is dead at this point in time. There's no way he exists. The only reason he's able to act like that, like he's alive like this, is because of Aunt Natsuhi's lie, her attempt to make it through the family conference while hiding grandfather's death. Oh? It's Natsuhi's lie? You can revive the dead by lying? Wouldn't that make it Natsuhi's magic? This world is like a brown tube before you've looked in it. It's the world of the cat box before you open it. As long as that Natsuhi says she took a walk with grandfather, and as long as no one can confirm that it's a lie. It's possible to display and Natsuhi taking a walk in the rose garden with grandfather as Natsuhi's reality. That means it's possible for grandfather to appear. That extremely unflattering applause was coming from Burncastle. Bravo. You're much calmer without Beatul around. Quiet. You shut up too. Wait a second, Battler. According to your theory, sure, it might really be possible for Kinzo to appear if Natsuhi's the only person there. If Natsuhi claims to have observed Kinzo in a world that no one except Natsuhi's in it, then no one can deny it, right? But Canon was in the same place, and he was also looking at Kinzo, right? How would you explain that? That's no problem at all. Canon-kun is a servant who works for the Ushirimiya family. Aunt Natsuhi probably ordered him to keep her story, so that she could hide grandfather's death. Because of that, Canon can see grandfather even though he shouldn't exist, just like Aunt Natsuhi can. Too bad, Lambda. Battler isn't gonna fall for that kind of child's play anymore. Seems so. Well, this is nothing more than an opening, before the games really started. Like an aperitif before a meal. An appetizer at a bar. Green tea at a sushi restaurant. Shut up. So, we aren't gonna get anywhere unless I say it again in blue text, huh? Looks like it. Would you mind? The reason grandfather's strolling around like nothing happened even though he's already dead is that people who want to make it seem as though he's alive created an illusion of him. People who think the same way can share in that illusion. Then, they'll talk as though grandfather actually exists and was with them until a second ago. That's why he's strolling around like it's perfectly natural. Because of this, the illusion of grandfather is unable to appear in front of people who aren't in on this with Aunt Natsuhi. That's why they made up the story of him shutting himself away in his study and refusing to come out. In the games before now, grandfather has always locked himself up in his study. We never met him directly. However, some people said things that made us think he was locked up in his study in a bad mood. Such as claiming to have met him only a short while ago. We blindly accepted their statements and believed that grandfather was in the study. That's why it was possible for an illusion of grandfather to exist in the study. That's right. In games before now, the only people who met grandfather were Uncle Kraus, Aunt Natsuhi, and the servants. Because they all stuck to the same story, an illusion of grandfather was able to exist on this island, making it seem like he was alive. You even showed us a scene at the beginning of this game, where Aunt Natsuhi convinced Dr. Nanjo and the rest to cover up grandfather's death. I'm not gonna fall for a cheap trick like that after all this time. Well, not bad. But I was hoping for the unknown drug poo-poo-poo-poo-poo. There's no way you'd say something so ridiculous, right? After all, supposing that such a thing exists would be just as bad as surrendering to the fantasy genre. Whether it's a virus or a drug or an illness, anything that hasn't been discovered yet is in violation of Nox's fourth commandment. What do you mean, fourth commandment? Nox's fourth. It is forbidden for unknown drugs or difficult to understand scientific devices to be used. The rule states that such things can't be used during a murder. What the hell? Unknown Drug Acts and Unknown Scientific Device Acts should be the best kinds of weapons to use when fighting against the witch. That's what I'm talking about. All of those violate the rules of a proper mystery. Supposing an unknown virus, an unknown drug, an unknown sickness, or an unknown XXX was used, puts it totally in the fantasy genre. My condolences. If that was your theory, then it's game over for you. Hey, what are you talking about? You think you've been fighting in direct opposition to Beato. But that's not actually true. You haven't been in direct opposition. You've been fighting along with her from a slightly different angle. All this playing detective you've done hasn't been fantasy versus mystery. It's only been fantasy versus anti-fantasy. I don't have a clue what you're talking about. But there's one thing I do get. It sounds like you're saying there's something wrong with my fighting style. We're fighting to kill the fantasy known as the illusion of the witch. That means interrupting this tale as a proper mystery interpreted. In other words, from the very start, we have to ignore any and all elements that violate the taboos of the mystery genre. Ignore, you say? For example, several closed-room murders have occurred in the games before now, right? Yeah. At every single crime scene, you enthusiastically check with Beato to make sure there are no hidden doors, right? Then that leads to a flashy bunch of red truths weaving together all over the place, almost as though that itself is the battle. I call that a waste of time. After all, it's clearly specified in Nox's Third. It is forbidden for hidden passages to exist. In the mystery genre, hidden passages mustn't exist. So, if you want to interpret everything as a proper mystery, entering this whole debate over whether there are hidden doors or not means you've lost from the beginning. See? After all, there aren't any. As soon as you suspect that they might exist, it's already game over for you. In other words, you assume you can't start theory building just because no one's yet proven that hidden doors don't exist at the crime scene. That's why I call you naive and a failure at the mystery genre. You've already lost once you start thinking that. You thought you were waging a fight to interpret everything like a mystery novel, right? Then you've got to follow the conventions of the mystery genre. Well, that's it in a nutshell. Hidden doors must not exist at any of the crime scenes. That means any time spent asking whether they exist or not is wasted. I think I know what you're talking about. I've heard about it somewhere. Is this like the 10 basic rules for mystery novels or something? Yeah, that's right. They're the 10 wedges for drilling witches brandished by Nox, the peerless archbishop of witch hunting. Those are the true weapons with which to fight and defeat the fantasy known as the illusion of the witch head-on. It's just like you, Burn, to bring in such a troublesome weapon. That's the fantasy genre, archenemy. So, you'll deny the existence of hidden doors right from the start without even investigating the crime scene. That sounds more like fantasy to me. Lambda, who's in charge of the witch's side, is fantasy. I'm the one who's fighting her. Mystery. What are you? You're just barely anti-fantasy, doing nothing but dodging over and over, and denying fantasy. You're opposed to absolutely everything, but you can't make any counter-proposals. You're like a politician from some country. Shut up. I didn't come here to speak gibberish with you two. Continue the story, right now. Be quiet. That sleeping princess behind you looks like she's in pain, doesn't she? When he turned around, he saw Beato's living corpse resting in a chair. However, sweat glistened all over her body, and it felt like she was breathing a little harder than normal. She looked as though she was suffering from a high fever. Beato. What's wrong? Are you okay? What do you mean, is she okay? You sure do say some weird things. Aren't you fighting to kill this girl? We've rewound this 5th game for your benefit, but right now, Burn has done a good job cornering her opponent, and is about to break through the illusion of the witch. Her existence has been almost completely denied. It's only natural that she's suffering. Just now, even you smashed the illusion of the witch by saying there's no way Kinzo exists. Here's the proof that your attack reached Beato. This agony of hers. I tried to at least wipe away the sweat on Beato's forehead with a handkerchief. It's true, I promised Beato that I'd let her die, but it was supposed to happen peacefully. I wasn't planning to make her suffer first. My goal isn't to make the sleeping Beato suffer like this before killing her, as if they had seen right through my mixed feelings. The two witches grinned. Alright, I'll check out the profiles then, I guess. Alright, let's take a look at the profiles. He said, Lambda Delta, Burncastle, Beato, and Battler all have new profiles. I'm betting it's the other one. Son of Rudolph, alright, find the conference chat. Renew, yep. Let's see. Alright. Burncastle, the Witch of Miracles. Also known as the witch who knows that miracles don't occur. In the 5th game, she participates as a player in opposition to Beato. However, from the very beginning, her aim has been to deny the illusion of the witch. Her only goal is to crush Beato and her world as a way to stave off boredom. Though she does deny the illusion of the witch, she is no ally of Battler's. She has a tail. Lambda Delta. In the place of Beato, who stepped down from the position of Game Master in the 4th game, Lambda Delta serves as the new Game Master in the 5th game. Therefore, it is expected that, while the 5th game may be quite similar to the previous ones, there will be differences. She hates boredom as much as Burncastle, and depending on the situation, she may become either an enemy or an ally to Beato or Burn. Ushromiya Battler. The man designated to be Beato's opponent in the first 4 games. In the 5th game, he is displeased that Lambda Delta has taken over as Game Master, so he does not participate as a player. Alrighty then. And that's them. And Beatrice. The Golden Witch and Endless Witch. Beato's priest who speaks on behalf of the illusion of the witch. She claims that all the crimes of Rakunjima were caused by the illusion of the witch. In the 5th game, she clashes with Burncastle, who denies this illusion. Because she herself is nothing more than a piece, and the higher plane version of her has stepped down as Game Master, she isn't in a position where she knows the truth of the 5th game. This puts her in a different position than the one she held in the games before now. Interesting. Alrighty. So, this 5th game is off to a odd start, and I noticed that the witches were getting Battler to agree on something. I'm betting that I have a bet for what one of the crime scenes involves, and they tricky way of going about it. Dad only overheard because you kept yelling about the inheritance, right, Haneke? It isn't my fault. It was just an unlucky coincidence, okay? He just happened to be in the corridor and heard. It was an accident. I tell you, an accident. 10 wedges with which to hunt the witches. Decalogue in Discord. Alright, cool. Could you two give it a rest? Just call it our bad luck this time and give it up. If you leave a man alone, his mood will pop right back to normal. Mostly. Hopefully, Father's feelings weren't hurt so much that he writes up some strange will. The relatives took a deep breath and fell silent. Hey, you can't jump around either, Maria. What will you do if Anji-chan falls? Sorry to keep you waiting. The boat is ready. Okay, let's go. Won't get anywhere by complaining now. We eagerly await your return to this island. She said Angie. Natsuhi was sitting on a bench in the rose garden, looking completely worn out. However, when she noticed that Kanon and Kumasawa were coming back, she immediately sat up straight, regaining the dignity of the head's wife. Did the boat leave? Yes. It departed just a minute ago. I see. Good job seeing them off. What is my husband doing? He returned to his room a short while ago. He is resting. Since the previous day, Kraus had been almost overwhelmed by anxiety over the thought that Kinzo's death might be discovered. When the family conference ended, his wariness must have suddenly gotten a hold of him. However, the way he had refused to let even a sliver of his true intentions slip out, and the manner in which he had managed to act as though everything was normal, showed that Kraus's nerve was nothing to sneeze at. How was it? Did they seem to notice anything suspicious about father? Not at all. Eva-sama and the rest were having a big ruckus over how the master overheard him talking about the inheritance, right? Wasn't their panicking just priceless? Yes, they were quite shaken up. But Kumasawa, you really are quite an actress. The way you acted all panicked in the corridor made it seem like father really was there. Kumasawa-san is quite talented at that sort of thing. Oh, come now, I don't deserve such praise. I always have to give Genji strict orders not to easily swallow your stories when you call in sick. Now that's just too harsh, madame. You really did a good job. Both of you, as well as Genji and Shannon. We'll get your pay for a month's worth of past vacation time, as well as 5 extra days, just as promised. Consider this a confidential benefit. Talk with Genji when you collect your pay so that the other servants don't find out. Sure, we understand. Right? Kumasawa-san, your voice is too loud. Oh, not good, not good. Good point. Let's leave it at that for the time being. We should all return to our regular duties. That's right. I've had Go to prepare some special tea. Tell him to serve it. Natsuhi let them know she wanted to be left alone for a while, so she could drink some black tea in the rose garden. The black tea that had been carried all the way to the bench was the Sri Lanka tea dumbula that she had promised Beto, along with some patis. Sitting on either side of the snack, staring at it curiously, the wife of the head and her witch could be seen. So, this is patis. I just assumed it would be some kind of baked sweet. Apparently, Natsuhi, not realizing that it had a curry-like spicy flavor, and started choking after putting it in her mouth. To describe it in Japanese terms, it was like fried dumplings stuffed with mashed curry-flavored potatoes. As a household dish, it would probably be pretty popular with the kids. However, it was something of a shock to Natsuhi, who expected that a treat to go with tea would be sweet. Didn't you know? Timbula always goes with this. Black tea always goes with cookies. Oh, but chocolate is good too. You must have sweet bean jelly with Japanese tea. Although salted kombu also works. Chinese tea goes with Chinese dumplings. Oh, I like mooncakes too. I'm surprised. You know a lot about various cultures, don't you? Well, I haven't been living 1,000 years for nothing. I've tried refined teas from all over the world. Perhaps you could call this a journey through the world of tea. It does. That does seem like it would be a wonderful way to travel the world. Before today, I never knew that one could enjoy tea like this. I'll treasure this experience. I cannot leave Rokkenjima. This is the only way I can travel. What about you? I'm sure you've elegantly traveled the world like any wealthy wife might. Before Jessica was born, my husband took me to many countries. Before marrying, I never once traveled overseas, so each time was a fresh and new experience. Sounds like you were also born into a very rigid family. It was strict, but they gave me a wonderful upbringing. It would be rude to my father and mother to call that rigid. That's a pretty eloquent way of to call it rigid. Kraus might have pitied Natsuhi, or he might have wanted to take her away from the rigid Ushiromiya family for a little bit and let her rest. Or he might simply have wanted to take his wife around countries he knew well, to show off everything he knew. Unlike father, my husband is fond of Asian nations. Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, Thailand. I think we also went to Malaysia. That's Kraus. Was he trying to rebel against Kinzo's Western tastes? But Asia is good too. After all, the Japanese are strongly influenced by the West. You don't say. When they think of foreign countries, only Western ones come to mind. But you mustn't forget the East. I myself knew a few things about the West, but I knew very little about the East. I seem to recall my husband making fun of me now and then during our travels. Beato suddenly peered into Natsuhi's heart, as the latter grumbled that the trips had all been very tiring. I know that Asia and whatnot is east, but it's kind of west of me. It's closer to go west than it is to go east to get there. I'd go like 5/8 around the world to get there instead of just going one way the other way. It's kind of weird. But, hey. It is the east, and we are the west. Are you listening? This is called an ariga nut. It's a popular luxury food item around here. It looked like a small, round, gourd-like nut that had been smashed with a cucumber wedged in it. At a glance, it looked as though it would probably taste like pickles. I see. So I just bite it here? As she tried to bite the one her husband was holding, he suddenly moved it away. That felt kind of embarrassing, like she was a fish after some bait. Oh, wait up. You have to eat it a certain way. Yes, you're supposed to bite it. Bite it. Chew it. But don't swallow it. Huh? Even though you bite and chew it, you can't swallow it? Yes. Bite and chew. Don't swallow. And don't drink the juice. It'll make your stomach hurt. I don't understand. Why would you eat something like that? Think of it as something like gum. Chew it and enjoy the flavor. Then take the scraps you've bitten and the juice and spit it out into a paper cup like this. Dear, the inside of your mouth is bright red. Wipe it off, wipe it off. Even her favorite handkerchief, which she had wiped Kraus's mouth with, had bright red marks on it. Something that's poisonous if eaten or drunk, and it makes the inside of your mouth so bright red. And having to spit something out after you put it into your mouth. How indecent. Thinking this, Natsuhi adamantly refused Kraus's invitation. No way, I don't need any. I don't need any. This is a cross-cultural experience. What's the point in traveling if we don't do things that can only be done here? Kraus kept chewing, ignoring the fact that even his lips were being colored bright red. Father likes these too. He must have ordered them long ago, because he used to chew away at them on the mansion's terrace. Although it seems he stopped ever since you arrived. Look here, Father, the person you respect more than me, enjoyed these all the time. Look, don't be shy. Take some. No, stop it, dear. During travel, Kraus had the innocence of a child. He didn't even conceal his jealousy of the respect Natsuhi normally gave Kinzo. Just being able to see that side of her husband made traveling all the way to another country worthwhile. Kraus urged her even harder to bite it, but Natsuhi, undaunted, ran from place to place and finally yelled that he was being too pushy. Kraus was miffed the whole bus ride. What a child. To let a little thing like this get him down. Natsuhi thought exasperatedly. Then, a native tour guide in the bus took out one of those areca nuts and started explaining about it. It had apparently been a beloved luxury item in these parts since ancient times, similar to tobacco. Just like in Natsuhi's case, it was starting to be disliked by young people and was becoming obsolete. Furthermore, it was treated as a good luck charm in this area, and was known as a symbol for couples. She looked at her husband's face. He turned away abruptly, but it looked like his cheeks had gotten a little red. So, you then leaned on your husband and held his hand, did you? What the heck? You and your husband share a pretty pure love, don't you? Did you get all fired up? You know, like that night? Red-faced and avoiding Beato's eye, Natsuki tried to hide her embarrassment by swallowing the patties whole, chewing with her cheeks puffed out like a blowfish. Beato said, "Yep, this is the best snack anyone can have with tea," and nodded several times, a broad smile on her face. However, that's only how it was when we were newlyweds. Right now, I cannot even leave Rakunjima. I'm a bird in a cage. Well, it's the same for me. I can keep dying, but I just can't escape Rakunjima. I'm also a bird in a cage. I don't know much about you, and I won't pry. However, I do see that you face circumstances not to be taken lightly. I have no desire to act like the chief prisoner here. Let's be friendly as fellow birds in this cage. I've taken a liking to you. Really? Thank you. 2 cream buns and a profiterole. It's craftsman. Hello. The instructions and orders you gave the servants for this family conference were superb. You took everything from where Kinzo would be, and when, what he did, and what he left behind. I put it all together splendidly, without any contradictions. That detailed written plan of yours had the same beauty as a high-level magic circle. To make it look like Kinzo actually existed and was living life his own way. She had written his schedule for the day down to the finest detail, and made the servants follow it to the letter. When did he meet whom and where, and what did he leave them? When did he do what and where, and what changed? As a result, even though the relatives never saw Kinzo even once, they hadn't suspected in the slightest that he hadn't been there. Even the rest truly believes that Kinzo had just happened to be walking through the hall when he heard them talking about the inheritance, and went into a rage. Everything had gone just as Natsuhi's plan had predicted, down to the finest detail. And the cooperation by the servants had also worked smoothly, down to the finest detail. We had to stop this secret from getting out, no matter the cost. That's why I double-checked the plan thoroughly. Your willpower and attention to detail summon success with certainty. As a witch, it seems that you're in Lady Lambda-Delta's camp. At your current level, as soon as you become self-aware of that as magic, You will be worthy of calling yourself a witch apprentice. If you call something like that magic, then that would make Kumasawa the witch of feigned illnesses. It's only on busy days that she calls us to say she's taking the day off because of her bad back. Like every year's family conference, for example. Oh no, you've got Kumasawa completely wrong there. She's a witch of a much, much higher level. If you knew what she really was, it'd shock you. Watching these two have their pleasant chat was another pair with steam rising from their black tea. However, this second pair was in a world that the first couldn't see, where golden roses bloomed. Ranave was kind enough to make us some of that Dimbula tea, too. It felt as though Beato muttered something. For the first time, it felt as though something had gotten through to her. Surely, she had taken an interest in the black tea and felt like drinking it. Thinking this, Battler took Beato's cup under her hand, making her hold the cup. Beato's eyes trembled sadly, and her fingers shook, almost as though she couldn't even move her fingers as she wanted to, and was mourning the fact that she could no longer enjoy the tea she had once loved by her own power. That's how she looked. So Battler put his hand on Beato's, grabbed hold of the teacup, and lifted it to her lips. Then, though it was only a single mouthful, Beato sipped. The days they'd had locked in the killing fest with red swords and blue wedges already seemed like the distant past. Now, not only was Beato unable to do that, it was even difficult for her to make her body do as she pleased. Even just drinking a mouthful of black tea like this was hard. How is it? That rose aroma makes for a great black tea. Do you like it? Of course, Beato didn't respond. What happened to you? Is this another strategy? Are you pretending to be in a slump so you can shock me later? And that's what you're after. The same trick won't work again. So give it a rest. I can't get fired up with you like this. Hey, isn't it about time for you to start laughing loudly, saying, "Caught you, dumbass," or something? Any kind of joke stops being funny if you drag it out too much. Especially if it's a rehash. You need to watch Dumb and Dumber. Laugh. Just like you're cackling over there as you drink with that Natsuhi. Can't you at least grin? Never again. This child will never laugh again. Those sudden words were exceedingly cruel. How can you say that for sure? Don't you try to take Beato's right to laugh away from her. Oh, should I say it in red then? I shook my head furiously. Then, with an expression that didn't reveal her thoughts in the slightest, Berncastle spoke while looking at Beato's face, and the word she used was completely incomprehensible to me. Congratulations. For what? Beato is like this as a result of your victory. What are you talking about? You said something interesting in a previous game. You said this would be torture where you both torment each other. That was right. It's torture for Beato as well. And you won that torture game. That's why Beato's soul was killed. Why she became a doll-like corpse. Are you saying I did this to Beato? The battle ends when one of you loses the will to try and win. As far as the battle between you and Beato goes, that was already concluded in the previous game. Well, it probably happened without you noticing, though. In that case, why hasn't the game ended, if I've already won? Why is this game still continuing? The shackle attached to that girl's ankle. That's a rule Lambda made. Even if Beatrice tries to yield or gets discouraged or gives up, she isn't capable of stepping down from the game. That's the rule. Or maybe it's a curse. In the past, I supported you when it looked like you were going to give in, though you probably couldn't perceive it. I assisted you by giving you hints and making things go your way. That's why you're able to be here now. Remember? Remember how I saved you? Burncastle stared at me. It's true I wasn't aware of it, but just maybe. I was saved by her. In the same way, Lambda is supporting Beato, and this time, Beato is on the verge of giving in. That's why Lambda's been giving her support this round, to keep her from giving in. That's what the shackle is. By refusing to let her resign, she's rescued Beato within the game. Rescued her from what? Normally, there are only two ways for this game to end. Either one side will accept defeat and resign, or one side will win the game with a checkmate. Beato was about to collide with the first wave. That's why Lambda crashed the chance and managed to just barely avoid losing. By the rules of this game, that's an impressive bit of support. So, the only way this game can end now is if I win. At the very least, until I do win, this witch called Lambda Delta can probably try to buy time for Beato to make a comeback. But that's just prolonged Beato's suffering even more. Neither of us want that. Both Beato and I fought with all we had, trying to win. The game repeated several times because we were both giving it everything we could muster. Then, that one time, we confronted each other, head-on with all of our strength. And Beato acknowledged her loss. She said she wanted me to end this game, and entrusted everything to me. So Burncastle's words are the truth. She says it's my fault Beato's become a living corpse. That's true. But it's something both of us wanted. Our match has already been resolved. Even so, this game won't end. That's why Beato put her trust in me. She told me to win quickly and end this game. Now that the game's been resolved, letting it continue any further means endless torture for Beato. Nothing more than a nightmare. I've got to give her a perfect checkmate and end this game in its truest sense, and let her rest in peace. For that reason, I'll keep fighting. But by continuing the game, Beato's eternal torture will continue. It felt as though I could only let her sleep peacefully by slowly strangling her to death. I'm starting to feel like truth doesn't matter anymore. As long as Beato's satisfied, who cares what happens in the game? Beato resigned. I'll abandon the truth of the illusion of the witch and return home with my family. Is there anything wrong with that? If only Lambda Delta hadn't placed the curse of that shackle on her, this battle would be over already. That's why I found it detestable. This game, which I can't finish without tormenting Beato more, is detestable. What's this? Beato's starting to look like she's in pain every time you get closer to the truth. So you're suddenly going easy on her? Then go easy on her as much as you can. And why don't you just let Beato win while you're at it? Then your little sister can have a lonely, tragic future forced on her endlessly. That's not how it is. That's right. I have to return for Angie's sake as well. I know this isn't the time to start feeling compassion for Beato. In that case, make sure you kill her. Kill this witch without fail. Even though Beato was right there, Berncastle spoke without holding back. Your goal is to kill this woman. In the last game, you said it at Beato's request. You said, I'll kill you. Yeah, that may be true, but that doesn't mean you get to complain about it. Did you know? When you tear one of your fingernails out, it's better to do it in one go. Pulling it out like you do, timidly, twisting, and slow, hurts much, much more. What you're doing sounds much more like torture to me. If you have any compassion, kill her all at once. That's how killing works. That's none of your business. I'm the one who gets to decide how to perform her last rites. You and that Lambda Delta witch have nothing to do with this. I'll kill her. I won't let anyone else do it. As long as you don't lose that willpower, I'm betting on you. Okay? Make sure you don't forget. Unless this game is resolved, you will never be released. You won't be allowed to abandon this game either. I get it. I know what Lambda's after. She wants to make you lose your will to fight, just like Beato. To make you a pair of living dolls. To keep this world in perpetual equilibrium. You don't want that, do you? I wouldn't like it either. Why should I give a damn about what you want? Still, I won't throw this game away. I won't abandon my responsibility to fight against Beato. I'm glad our goals are the same. So, you'll be able to kill this child without any hesitation, right? That's right. I have no way of knowing whether those words eased her pain or hurt her, but I can tell by the dull tingling in my chest that I surely believe I've hurt her. I have no way of knowing what the silent Beato feels. If I think I've hurt her, does that mean she's actually been hurt? And, if I didn't think I'd hurt her, would that mean no one's gotten hurt because of me? So, about that Beato who's drinking tea over there with Natsuhi. You can handle that, right? Yeah, no problem. It's the same as it was with Kinzo. Beatrice doesn't exist. This is a fake illusion of a witch that Natsuhi created, since she believed she was borrowing the witch's power when she thought up a brilliant plan to overcome hardship. It only looks like they're drinking together. Because Lambda Delta, who's the game master, and the one telling the story, interpret it that way. If you could stare at the scene without a fragment of love for Natsuhi, you wouldn't see an illusion like that. That's why, with my eyes, all I can see is Natsuhi all alone, drinking her tea in silence. Without love, it cannot be seen. Because love is lacking, it cannot be seen. You're looking at a daydream Natsuhi's showing us. Beatrice doesn't exist there. Beato mumbled softly. It was a small voice that made it sound like she was in pain. The thorn of Berncastle's truth had stabbed into her chest. Yeah, that's probably true. I think your theory's right. But don't say that in front of Beato. It doesn't matter where I say it. This is Beato's world we're in. Also, It's not like I'm protecting Beato, but it's still possible that Natsuhi really is drinking tea with some unknown person next, who calls themselves Beatrice. This scene takes place a year before everything. The number of people on the island on this day has never been shown with the red truth. Sure. Even Lambda hasn't said anything in red about the number of people in Rokkenjima on this day. In that case, it's possible for Aunt Natsuhi to claim that she really did drink tea with a woman calling herself Beatrice. Just like I can't deny your theory, you can't deny mine. That means you can't say for sure whether the Beato there is an illusion or not. Oh, is this cat box theory? That might have worked on Beato, but it won't work on me. Why not? After all, Natsuhi is drinking tea all by herself right there. There was a violent sound of glass breaking, and the Beato who laughed happily and cracked jokes about Natsuhi's newlywed years was erased. A lonely wind blew, and the one person who remained on the bench drinking tea with a tired expression was Aunt Natsuhi all by herself. Beato groaned. I could see clearly that she was in anguish. Another illusion of the witch had been smashed, drawing Beato towards death. In short, this is what the battle to let Beato rest in peace is all about. A second ago, Berncastle likened our fight to the torture of tearing fingernails out. If I have to tear them out anyway, then my last bit of compassion towards Beato should be to minimize that pain. In other words, even if I want to minimize her pain, I still have to cause it. I have to accept that look of anguish on her face. And at the same time, I realized what a merciless thing the red truth was. Right now, in this rose garden, there's no one except Aunt Natsuhi. In other words, there are no observers except for Aunt Natsuhi. So, if that lone observer were to say that she'd had some tea with Beato, no one should be able to refute that. If there's something no one can deny, doesn't that mean it's truth? Aunt Natsuhi is enjoying the roses and drinking tea together with Beato. How could anyone have the right to mercilessly trample that pleasant moment? The red truth is like a blade. You called it that. In a battle with a witch, it's a blade that sometimes tears your theories apart, but sometimes becomes a weapon you can fight back with. I know. So what? Don't use it without reason. A blade is a tool if you use it when you're supposed to, but it's a weapon if you use it out of malice. True enough, Aunt Natsuhi wasn't really drinking tea with a witch. However, saying that with a red truth probably has nothing to do with our game. Our game is the tale of October 1986. The 2 days of the crime gave us more than enough time to injure each other, with our red and blue blades glistening. This isn't about the illusion of the witch. It's about Aunt Natsuhi's privacy. How could anyone have the right to expose that? Do you want to acknowledge that a witch actually existed here and drank tea with Natsuhi? Weren't you trying to deny the existence of witches? That's right. If we're talking about our game, the 2-day period from October 4th to October 5th in 1986. But I have no desire to question whether or not witches exist outside that game board. In the first place, the devil's proof argument makes it impossible to deny the existence of witches. And, according to the rules of this game, saying something like what you did in red is a forbidden move that leads to a stalemate. You can't deny the existence of witches, not even with the red truth. True. I never thought I'd hear you talk so glibly about witches existing. Not bad, Lambda. You've done a good job getting Battler stuck between his human culprit theory and the idea that witches existing wouldn't be so bad. She really excels at controlling human hearts. Looks like I'd better start helping you out even more. I really couldn't care less about you two. Disappear. This game is between Beato and me. We're gonna keep this game to ourselves. No way. What? After all, I'm enjoying this game too. Burncastle disappeared, leaving only that unpleasant laugh behind. After that, all that remained was Natsuhi, sipping tea all alone. Beato, her hand still on the teacup as she stared blankly at the surface of the liquid, and me. Burncastle and Lambda Delta. Virgilia called them your friends, but you really should choose your friends more carefully. Or wait, maybe they actually make a good match with an ill-natured person like you. Beato didn't answer. Battler took Beato's hand, made her hold the cup again, and brought it to her lips. Beato made a quiet sound in her throat, and drank another gulp. Then, Natsuhi's lonely tea time ended. The truth, which was Natsuhi's alone and observed by no one else, had been defiled. In Natsuhi's world, surely. That tea party, which had been peaceful despite her annoyance at Beato for making fun of her too much, came to an end, and the two of them parted ways. However, in Natsuhi's exposed truth, she was all alone. Natsuhi tottered away. On the bench, only a single person's cup remained. Umineko no Nakukoto ni Chiru, Nocturne of Truth and Illusions. I think I see the play going on here. Or the moves of the witches, anyway. At least somewhat. I suck at guessing things, but this still doesn't mean I can't give it a shot. Anyway. After dashing to her bedroom, Jessica answered the phone call that had been transferred there. Hello? Sorry to keep you waiting. Battler, what do you think you're doing, not contacting us for 6 years? How's it going? Oh, really? How the hell did I know? Hey, shut up. Well, that means you'll be coming to this year's family conference, right? I mean, it's been 6 whole years. Five businessmen in expensive suits were visiting in the parlor, giving Kraus and Natsuhi a progress report on their businesses. Spread out on the table were the blueprints and designs for a building, as well as documents related to expenditures and the like. So packed that even a teacup would have gotten in the way. Officially, they were here to give Kraus a progress report, but in actuality, Kraus had called them all the way over to Rokujima so that Natsuhi could hear from them directly. This was because Natsuhi needed to hear someone other than her husband explain what condition their business was in. Fair enough. In other words, even though another family conference without Kinzo was approaching, their business had not yet earned them any money. After telling the guests to wait for a short while, Kraus took Natsuhi out into the hall and once again summarized the situation. In short, they say the work is proceeding even better than we imagined. This is where my personal connection to the governor really starts to pay off. By now, it's absolutely impossible for this catch to get away from us. To the contrary, it's growing so big that in one go, we'll be able to regain not just that power of attorney, but everything we've lost up to that point as well. Kraus spoke passionately. This made it seem all the more suspicious to Natsuhi. But this time, at least, She had to admit that everything really did seem to be going well. Certainly, this business Krause boasted of had expanded in scope over the last year, and was promising an even greater payoff than had been anticipated initially. Whether it would prove to be a winner or not, investors had gathered around it, and they were rapidly gaining funds. This must be what they mean when they say money summons money. It was probably the greatest success of Krause's life so far. No, it probably would be his greatest success yet. That point was where Natsuhi's misgivings lay. True, it was certain, and as Krause had said, they wouldn't lose this catch now. However, the fish on the line had gotten too big. We'll definitely be able to reel this fish in. There's no need to rush. It's such a success that I wish I could show it to Father, if he were still alive. Yes, I know. However, I believe you made me a promise last year. You said you were sure you could manage something within a year. A pained look rose to Krause's face. They certainly had hooked a fat fish that guaranteed great success. However, it would require an appropriate amount of time to reel it in. Natsuhi pressed Krause, asking if there was any way for them to make money before this year's family conference. But Krause kept saying that he needed just one more year. Krause planned to use this unprecedented success to catapult them into further challenges in the future. Because of this, he didn't want to do anything that would raise suspicion by making it seem like they were rushing to get money. Certainly, fortune tends to turn against people who take it for granted even in the slightest. Anxious beggars never prosper. On many occasions before now, Krause had gotten cold feet and sold off businesses that would surely have brought in a profit had he just waited, and had, in effect, given away his winning picks. Natsuhi also knew this. She knew that guts were the thing her husband lacked most. That's why she was unable to refuse when Krause said he wanted to prudently wait just one more year. How wonderful that things are going well. It would appear I'll have to sit around here as a ghost for a little longer. You don't look too disappointed. You're fated to be chewed to bits by demons the moment you leave this world. My apologies, Father. For one more year, you might not be granted peace. That is fine. Fear not, Natsuhi. I am no longer the Ushimiya family head. The ghost of the study should obediently follow the current head's commands. I've taken a look at Krause's charts, and they aren't bad at all. Even from your perspective, Father? They're pretty good, even from my perspective. Everyone is confident in victory, gathering together a significant quantity of magical power. As a result, that victory is growing even deeper, involving more and more people and magic, beginning to create gold, a perfect embodiment of classic alchemy. Oh? If you've earned even the Golden Witch's approval, that is very reassuring. Rejoice, Natsuhi. This business of Krause's will save the Ushimiya family from its crisis without fail. Thank you very much. And if you would, once again... Indeed. We'll have to overcome one more family conference, won't we? Yes. I think things went well last year, but I imagine some of the relatives will find it suspicious. I think this year's conference will be a critical time. During last year's family conference, you were correct to predict that the same thing might happen again. Even for those who aren't witches, preparing for the worst-case scenario is one of the basics for getting on in this world. So, what will you do this year? And just like last year, I'll see to it that a high concentration of the servants who know Father's secrets are there on the day of the conference. Some of the relatives may already have noticed that Father isn't around. A careless show might actually put us in more danger of exposure. Indeed. It is said that too much is as bad as too little. Then what will you do? Unlike last year, I think we'll go with a plan that has you staying inside your study until the end. That would be suitable. Barricades are straightforward and simple. A final trump card. No matter how strongly the toxin fills this mansion, as long as the closed room barrier remains around this room, it will be impossible to deny Kinzo's existence. I guarantee that myself. However, when forming a barricade, it is inevitable that you will be surrounded. I know. Even so, I beg that both of you lend us your power just one more time. I cannot disobey the orders of the new head. Furthermore, a ghost cannot disobey the orders of the living. If you tell me not to leave this room, I will obey. Thank you very much. I'm not satisfied. If you want me to lend you my power, I won't listen to a mere request. Yes, you are the family alchemist. So, I won't ask you to help. I order you to help. Your magic is the one thing we can rely on. Use that power to create an illusion of father, just one more time. Very well. I hear and obey. I find your confidence quite pleasing. From the shadows of the study, Battler watched the exchange between these three. I see. So, we've made it this year's family conference. Grandfather was in a bad mood, so he shut himself in his study and didn't appear in front of anyone. Natsuhi spoke boldly about how she would somehow overcome this year's crisis and protect the Ushiromiya family's honor until the end, while Kinzo praised her, saying that her plan looked promising. Beato also praised her, saying that Natsuhi's dignified confidence was even more well-suited for the headship than Krause's. However, right now, the true number of people in this room was... The moment I thought that... No. Just because I thought it, Beato grabbed at her chest and moaned. Don't worry. This is still outside the game board, so I won't deny you, your grandfather over there. I put my hand on Beato's as she tried to hold back the pain deep inside her chest. I've already told Berncastle. The 2-day period of the 1986 family conference is all I need to deny the illusion of the witch. In the last game, you said in red that grandfather's dead at the start time for all games. However, you never mentioned whether grandfather was alive or dead before the start time for the games. In short, even if grandfather exists in this place right now, that doesn't create any contradictions. My hand touching her left off a faint blue light, which seeped into her chest. That light tenderly wrapped itself around the splinters in Beato's chest. And I also can't deny the existence of Beatrice in this place. The number of people on this island outside the game board, in other words, before October 4th, 1986, has not been proclaimed in red. Therefore, there's nothing strange about Beatrice existing here. Beato's expression softened slightly. My blue light slowly began to melt the red splinters that denied the illusion of the witch. Beato still wore the same sad expression, but she lifted her face and looked me straight in the eye. Though she was silent, her eyes told me that her pain had subsided. The feelings that showed in her eyes were gratitude for taking the pain away, and appreciation, or was it surprise, for leaving even a tiny bit of leeway for witches to exist. Unable to look directly at those pure eyes of hers, I reflexively averted my gaze. Don't get the wrong idea. I don't plan on accepting the existence of witches or surrendering or anything. I just want to let that part slide and fight stoically so that I can win this game against you. I have no desire to bully you outside the game board as well. Beato hung her head. I was still facing away from her. However, we waited wordlessly for a while, my hand still on hers. By now, no one would believe that this sad-eyed woman was the same person as that prideful Beato. So, I asked once more. Even though I said it aloud, it wasn't a question to her. I was asking myself. Just what in the world were you thinking? That's right. Even though this is Lambda's game, I have to fight you here. I have to find what you thought and what you were trying to do. Very soon, this game will also reach October 4th, 1986. The 5th game will finally begin. And this time, I'll reach the end. The end of that journey. I'm not worried about the surface level stuff, like murders and tricks. What did you, the Golden Witch Beatrice, think? And why did you do what you did? What were you hoping for? That's what I'm gonna find out. That's right. I already know how I can reach the end of that journey. It's been made clear to me since the very beginning. This time, I'll spin the chessboard around. I'll read this tale, not from my side, but from yours. And this time, I'll understand you. I'll pick my way to your heart. I won't let you feel pain. Don't worry. I won't let those witches use you as a toy anymore. Beato looked up at me again and gave a small nod. That's right. The position of Game Master might have been snatched up by Lambda Delta. However, as long as I continue this contest with the intent of fighting against Beato, our fight will continue no matter who controls the game board. Very soon, the curtain will rise on our game. At this year's family conference, we must conceal the Master's secret once again. Yes, I understand. I'm a little doubtful that the same trick will work twice. Madame shares your concerns. Because of that, it was decided that this year, he will not leave the study even once. In other words, we'll make it seem like he's been shut away in his study the whole time? Yes. And the ones who are allowed to enter the study are the three of us, the servants permitted to wear the one-winged eagle. Which means the three of us will have to perpetuate the lie about the Master. Correct. The relatives will probably question you about the Master's health and mood. Make sure you answer without hesitation, and see to it that nothing is seen as suspicious. Yes, I understand. I'm sure you'll screw it up right away, Nei-san. Maybe it's better to say that you'll have a cold or something so you can skip that day. That's lame. Cannon wasn't just making fun of her. He only wanted to realize Shannon from the burden of working on the most serious of days. Genji-sama, is it really necessary for Shannon to be on duty? We can manage things well enough without her. That I cannot do. Madame gave strict orders that the three of us be scheduled to work on that day. Yes, I'm prepared to perform my duties successfully. Don't screw up. I won't. Shannon grew sullen, and Cannon shrugged. Then Genji told them that they weren't taking this seriously enough. Shannon, Cannon, the master we serve has already passed away. However, until he has truly passed on, we will continue to serve. That study is not empty. The master is still there, hard at work on his usual research. Make sure you take that to heart. Yes, Genji-sama. Father has already passed away? That's insane. Settle down. It's only a possibility. It's well known that Takeda Shingen said in his will that his death was to be kept secret for 3 years. Know about that? Is that how it went? My Japanese history isn't so great. At the time, Takeda was in the middle of a war with Oda and Tokugawa. If people learned about his death at a time like that, it would probably have had a bad impact on the war. Because of that, he left a will saying that his death should be kept hidden for 3 years. Hideyoshi did the same thing, right? He totally suppressed information about the death of his master, Oda Nobunaga, so that the enemy wouldn't find out. Quickly made peace with Mori, and defeated Akechi in the Battle of Yamazaki. On the other hand, Shibata Katsui failed at this. The enemy, Uesugi, learned of Nobuyuki's death, so Shibata had to deal with an unexpected counterattack, and got slowed down. That's why, later on, he suffered a great loss against Hideyoshi in the fight for the succession. Hideyoshi, who had a strong fascination with the commanders of the Sengoku period, would always show off his knowledge when he got the chance. Wincing slightly, Eva made him get back to his point. So basically, the whole time since last year's family conference, I felt as though something was strange. You mean the time when Rune and the Father were talking about the inheritance, and Father overheard us from the hall? That's just it. Natsumi-san and the servants kept saying Father was here or there, and that he seemed to be in a bad mood. But not a single one of us relatives saw Father, right? If what you're thinking is right, what does that mean? Does it mean Nissan's trying to keep all of the inheritance for himself? Of course, hiding someone's death is a very dangerous thing to do. And all things considered, I'm not sure Kraus-san would be willing to do it just to have the inheritance to himself. But it is possible. Well, it's true that Nissan has always been greedy. He always used to take things that weren't meant for all the siblings, keeping them all for himself. Kraus-san is supposed to be the richest of the siblings. Kraus-san's scheming to keep the inheritance all to himself, to the point of accepting the risk of fighting Father's death. Sounds a tad unbelievable to me. Even so, last year's family conference was so strange, I can't help but wonder. Eva and the others were painfully aware of how reckless it would be to try and see Kinzo when he was in a bad mood. So, during last year's family conference, once they heard about Kinzo getting into a terrible mood, they never made an attempt to contact him. That was why, to this very day, they hadn't found it suspicious that Kinzo had never appeared. It certainly is worth suspecting. But I wonder if Nissan really would do something as appalling as hiding Father's death. For all his pride, that man has a coward side to him. Would he really make such a once-in-a-lifetime bet? Either way, it'd probably be a good idea to make sure we get a chance to meet with Father during this year's conference. The rumors are really bad. Sounds like Aniki's business is failing even worse than we'd imagined. Like he's taken massive losses, and he's given it all he's got just to try and cover it up. That'll make it very difficult to borrow money from him. Yeah, I could cry. Wouldn't being in financial stress also weaken Kraus-san's position in certain ways? Weaken his position? Well, investors tend to have a keen eye. If they hear that he's actually low on funds, they won't want to have anything to do with him. I guess trust is the most important part of that business. Kiri smiled thinly. Rudolph was taken aback by that smile. He'd figured that his plan, which involved raising money to get him out of his current mess by borrowing from the affluent Kraus, would all come to nothing now that they knew Kraus himself was in financial trouble. Confidence in Kraus-san's abilities might be a requirement for his own businesses in the future, but it isn't necessary for our future. Are you suggesting that I blackmail him? I wouldn't want to, if it were me. For one blood sibling to take another one down is no laughing matter. Rudolph felt a shiver go up his spine as Kiri's cold smile. At times, Kiri was able to throw away all compassion and think in an extremely ruthless manner. Whenever he saw that, Rudolph knew he'd never like to have her as his enemy. I'd rather not threaten Oni-san if we had any other way to get money. If there were another way, we wouldn't be worrying. Don't you think it's a bit pathetic to waste time worrying about a problem when you have no other options? Rudolph stopped talking, folded his arms, and lowered his gaze. He still felt some of the terror he'd experienced thanks to Kraus's violence when they were young. And now, that same Kraus was the one who needed to threaten. Rudolph would also be fighting against his childhood trauma. So, to give her husband a little push, Kiri smiled reassuringly, and perhaps coldly. I've never been a fan of doing work based on trust. It takes hard work to build up trust, but only an instant to lose it. There's no less profitable investment. You're right. All the trust in the world isn't worth a good banknote. Even though Kraus-san has been taking on massive losses, he ought to be capable of gathering enough money to buy us some time. Of course, he'd probably be forced to cash in all the trust he's built up so far. This is gonna get ugly. We'll have to prepare sufficiently. We haven't been given any time or room for failure. Isn't that right? Among my Kyoto friends, I know a few who are talented at this sort of investigation. I'd rather not be indebted to people like that. But do you want to try meeting them? You can't expect people like that to offer you receipts, but I'm sure they'll dig up something that makes them worth the investment. Uh-huh. And I think that'll be it for today. Unless we want to go through Rosa's little skit here. You know what? Because we can, I'm going to go through Rosa's skit. If it's about the same as the other ones. Yes. Maria is doing well too. That's none of your business. Thank you. Huh? Well, I'll have a look at my schedule. Rosa was talking to Rudolph over the phone. Rosa rarely received calls from her older siblings. Shows you brace yourself for something serious. Well, truth is, I want to have a little talk about the next family conference. Without Aniki. Between you, me, and Eva-san? Sounds like a headache. I can't go into details over the phone, but I think you'll find it's worth listening to. Something good? Of course. Aniki's all for it. Ne-san is. All we want is your approval. We aren't going to ask you for money or anything like that. The most important thing is that the three of us stick together. Got it? Rosa let out a sigh. She did so because, in the past, when Rudolph and Eva got into a fight with Kraus, they always used to talk to her like this right before dragging her into it. First, tell me. I stand to gain something too. Yes? Yep. The three of us will each grab 200 million out of this. If all goes well, we might be able to squeeze out more. That should be enough to handle your debt, right? And when can we expect to grab this by? Of course, it'll be within a year. I need it. Annika needs it. And you need it too, Rosa. All three of our problems will be settled. So, the chances of success are good enough that Nasan's agreed to it. Now do you want to hear? I know it's a bit sudden, but let's meet next Sunday, 1900, at the coffee shop you like in Ginza. That's the only time Anniki's schedule and mine match. Any problems? If we're talking 200 million, I'll have no choice but to listen. And let's meet at 7 p.m. next Sunday, at Leopold's. And Maria-chan, you can bring her too if you want. Don't talk about money in front of that child. She set the receiver down with a clunk, a little violently. Apparently, either Eva or Rudolph had gotten hold of one of Kraus's weak points. They would probably threaten him with that at the next family conference and force him to pay up. Even before hearing the details, she knew full well that it would be nothing good. But even so, this might be her once-in-a-lifetime chance to pay back her large debts. Rosa took a notebook out of her handbag and started to mark the day she'd be meeting with Rudolph and Eva. Then, she frowned and smacked herself hard on the forehead, because written there was DZL with Maria, something she had planned to do with her daughter. Maria was in her room, playing around excitedly with Sakataro and the others. That was because she was going to go to that recently built amusement park, Disneyland, the following Sunday. Looking at the clock, Rosa saw that it was just past 9 at night. Maria was breaking the lights out rule. After covering her face and agonizing for a while, Rosa stood up and stomped over to Maria's room. The room would probably be a mess as well. At least tonight, that was convenient. As she stood outside the door to Maria's room, listening to the happy laughter seeping through, Rosa's face twisted in anguish once again, and she looked at the floor. Then, when she raised her head again, her brow was furrowed, and her face had become an ugly expression of anger. Yeah, nice going, Rosa. And this will be it for our session. I'm glad I went through with that. See? Taking a chance and doing things that you don't know the outcome of. Anyway. That'll be it for today. We had some interesting developments. And this is starting to resemble... What the hell was it? The 4th game? More and more. The story keeps getting more and more uniform. It's kind of interesting. I will. I saw your emojis before I started the stream. I'll add them as I'm able to. So just give me a bit of time, and I'll get to it. Anywho, that'll be it for today. I really do need to do something about this lighting. It's really bright. And very direct. I don't know. I'll sort it out later. Anywho, have a good day, everybody. It's nice getting back into this again. Just don't antagonize your family. Don't go into huge amounts of debt. Just be good people, please. See you later.